Here are the 5 skincare mistakes that you are probably making and my tips and tricks on how to fix them that is going to be game changing for your skin. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Claire and here on my channel we talk about Asian skincare where I am never wearing any makeup when we talk about skincare. And I am so excited for today's video because we're talking about 5 mistakes that you might be making in your skincare that I've definitely made myself, that if you kind of switch things up, it might just be an absolute game changer for your skin. I had this first idea of filming this because I was kind of thinking through my personal skincare journey. I have worked really hard at my skin to kind of get to where it is that I currently am. I am currently pregnant and I'm currently 31, and so I feel like the older that I get, the more that I just feel like my skin is changing. I need to take care of it. And also with being pregnant, there's just so many hormonal changes going on. I feel like you're constantly feeling dehydrated and it's just, like it's a lot on my skin. And so I've just really feel like I've taken so much time to care for my skin. And in that kind of process, I've learned that there were some things that I was doing that just wasn't working out. And when I educated myself further on some of the science behind all of these skincare, I just feel like I have to share it with you guys. So number 1, you are probably not using actives in your skincare routine properly. First of all, let's talk about what are actives. Actives are ingredients such as the active ingredients that help power your sunscreen. For example, in mineral sunscreens, that would be something like zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, things like that. It can also be things like retinol, tretinoin, vitamin C. These are all forms of actives. A common question that I actually have seen, and I've also wondered this in the past myself, is whether or not niacinamide is actually considered an active because it is vitamin B. And niacinamide, to my knowledge, is not actually an active. However, it is an ingredient that I will sometimes kind of like also add into this category just because I know a lot of people are very sensitive to niacinamide in the way that other people might be sensitive to retinol, to vitamin C, AHAs, BHAs, and things like that. So those are actives. And when I say you may not be using actives properly, I mean that we need to first think about the reason for why we're using actives in our routine. I think it's like really common when we're first like starting off skincare routines and we're really young to be like, okay, yeah, I need to add like something super exfoliating into my cleanser, so I'm gonna add all these AHAs. Okay, I need to add vitamin C into my skincare routines to help brighten my skin. Oh my gosh, I'm like, in my 20s now, I want to start an anti-aging routine for like, like preventative care, so I'm gonna start adding retinol. The older you get, you realize, oh my gosh, tretinoin is even more powerful than retinol. Let me add tretinoin. And it kind of leads us down this rabbit hole. At least it definitely did for me in my 20s, of just being like, I need to add all of these things into my skincare routine. I don't really even know why, but I'm just being told that I need to add them. And that is like the number 1 mistake that you can make, because actives are so powerful, and it can be very stripping on your skin, especially if you're like me in your early 20s. You kind of like started getting into skincare. It was like starting to be kind of fun and all that. Like your skin at that point is so young. Like you do not actually want to be adding all these things that's going to be stripping it of its youth. And I say that because now I'm getting into my 30s and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I like look at old pictures on my phone, I'm just like scrolling and I'm just like, I cannot even believe how youthful my skin used to look. And I used to hate my skin, like, because I didn't feel like it was plump enough. I didn't feel like it was like bright enough. I didn't feel like it was like whatever enough. And sometimes I wish I can just like kick myself and like go back there and be like, your skin looks amazing. Stop doing all of the nonsense that you're about to dive into. But with that being said, like, what is like a safe way to actually start using actives? First, think about what it is that you are actually needing in your skincare. For example, if you really struggle with hyperpigmentation, you struggle with dark spots, that is somewhere to assess adding in a vitamin C. And I don't just mean like pick a vitamin C serum and then you're good to go. You need to be able to balance that out with everything else that the vitamin C is going to affect in your skin. For example, if you have dry skin, the vitamin C can tend to honestly be a little bit more drying. And actually for me, when I stopped using vitamin C, because I felt like I did not actually have enough hyperpigmentation, dark circles to justify the constant usage of vitamin C, especially every single day, never mind like twice a day. I just felt like that was a complete game changer. The moment I cut vitamin C and I'm like, I'm gonna look for gentler forms of brightening that is much more suitable to me because I don't really need all of that, my skin started feeling so much better. So if you're going to be adding vitamin C because you're like, I have dark spots, I have hyperpigmentation, like we just need the whole vitamin C situation, that's amazing. But just make sure that you're then balancing that out, because the whole goal of our skincare is that we want to make sure we're having a balanced skin. Last thing I want to mention about mistake number one of using actives incorrectly is retinols and tretinoin, because I have such strong opinions about retinol and tretinoin. Story time. When I was in my early 20s, I started getting into skincare along with makeup, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start adding retinols. Like, this is gonna be great. It's like preventative skincare, like, you know, like preventative aging. It's gonna be amazing. And I honestly thought I loved it because I looked at my skin and I'm like, oh yeah, everything looks amazing. And I think now I look back and I just think to myself like, oh, the naivety of myself back then. Is that even the word? I was just so naive, because I think back and I'm like, I'm pretty sure my skin looked that great, less because of retinol and more because I was actually developing a skincare routine, and because at the time in my 20s, I was just blessed with youth. Retinol and tretinoin are going to be inherently more of an exfoliator. They're not technically an exfoliator, and so people say like, well, it's not technically an exfoliator, but basically what it does is that it's going to help exfoliate, for lack of a better term, all of the dead skin cells in your skin barrier and help boost the cell turnover in your dermis, in like the middle part of your skin that's responsible for like collagen production, elastin, keratin, and like all that good stuff. Now, the problem with that is that for a lot of people, whether it's because of genetic reasons, because of lifestyle reasons, environmental factors, a lot of us tend to have a weaker skin barrier or just really sensitive skin in general, and something like tretinoin is going to be so harsh on your skin. If it works for you and works for your skin, I think that's amazing, but I just want you to keep in mind that something like retinol and tretinoin that is going to be so strong is not going to work for you if you have a thinner skin barrier, if you're working on rebuilding your skin barrier. And that's also part of the reason why, for example, they tell you like, don't use retinol when you're pregnant, because these ingredients are so powerful, and I think a lot of us just add them into our routine kind of willy-nilly, and it's just like, okay, yay. And I really urge everyone to just take a step back, think about what it is that you're using, and maybe look for more gentle alternatives. There's just so many amazing anti-aging alternatives in Asian skincare. For example, I really love the very affordable peptide serums in Korean skincare. There's one that I really love from Ample N. The peptide serum is just so good. Like, something like that will help you with boosting your collagen production. It'll help you with that anti-aging effect without you needing to be overly stripping of your skin, without you needing to just kind of like cause all of this distress underneath. Mistake number two, face oils. You are probably using your face oils in the wrong step in your skincare routine. I know, stick with me here. When I first started building my skincare routine, I was always told you have to go from lightest to thickest, otherwise nothing will penetrate, and you know, it's just always accepted that oils was being put at the very end. Okay, that's all great and fine. I followed that routine to a T for such a long time until I discovered Asian skincare. I was kind of like diving into different brands, and I was diving into like the different ways that Asian skincare might formulate their products, like the different philosophies behind why they do certain things. And it kind of just got me thinking about oils, because I always just kind of felt like I just kind of like slap it on at the end, but I didn't really know like as to what they were being used for. And when I learned about the fact that dry skin means that you just naturally produce less oils, maybe just because genetically, or you know, because of age, like I definitely didn't always used to have dry skin. I kind of started reassessing, being like, okay, wait, if dry skin means that I'm lacking the normal oil production in my skin, that means oils are going to be pretty important for my skincare routine. And so I started reevaluating oils, and what I discovered is that a lot of oils are actually going to be maybe forms of emollients. I talked about this on my channel before, the difference between humectants, emollients, and occlusives that are really, really high level. Humectants are going to be things that help add back in water to your skin, like hyaluronic acid, glycerin. These are going to be humectants that add back the water, the hydration to your skin. Emollients are going to be something that helps soften your skin, and most likely they're going to be thicker than the humectants, and they're going to be really good at adding all of the oil, the moisture back into your skin. So those are the two main differences between humectants versus emollients. One is more water focused, one is going to be a little bit more oil focused. Humectants are lighter, emollients are going to be thicker. Then occlusives are going to be what seals everything at the end. It's like when people say they love putting like a layer of Vaseline on their face to go to bed, it's because like Vaseline is a very powerful type of occlusive to basically just kind of make sure that nothing that you already put on your skin is going to escape outwards. And so a lot of moisturizers are going to be occlusives because you want to be able to have occlusives in there to be able to prevent everything that you already put from escaping outwards, or from your natural oil, your natural water in your skin from escaping. And so occlusives are going to be things like shea butter, lanolin. These are occlusives. I actually realized that a lot of the oils that I really enjoy using are actually more emollients. Some of them are going to be more like an emollient occlusive mix, but because they're emollients, if I actually put them at the very end after all of my moisturizers or whichever with like shea butter and all that stuff, it's not actually going to penetrate my skin. And when I reevaluated the way that I thought about this, it was such a complete game changer. So the way that I now use oils is that I'll first go in with my toners to prep my skin, and then I will go in with all of my serums to fix all of the various things that I want to happen. And at the end of that step, with all of my serums being more either humectants or emollients, I'm gonna go in with my oils. The way that I use this is that at the end of all my serums, before I start going in with my moisturizers, with my emulsions that are going to be more of the occlusive side, I like going in with this. And it sounds crazy, but it's made such a huge difference in my skin when I started using this at the end of all of my serums and before my moisturizers. Before my moisturizers, adding in my oils are such a game changer, because a lot of the oils I'm using are going to be more seed oils, more plant-based oils like rosehip oils. Adding that in before my moisturizer allows it to be able to sink into my skin. And also I start help prepping my skin to actually add back in all of the rest of the occlusives I'm going to be having through my emulsions, through my moisturizers. And so if you're like, this is like blowing my mind, I just don't believe you because oils are thicker, look at the specific types of oils that you're using. There are going to be some oils that are only occlusives. For example, like shea oil, like shea butters are always going to be an occlusive. But most often, if you see something like rosehip oil, plant oils, seed oils, like these oils are meant to be more emollients. And so stick them in your routine right before your moisturizer, and it will be such a game changer. The third skincare mistake that you're probably making is something that I honestly recently learned myself, so you're not gonna be alone. Number 3, dry skin is not the same as dehydrated skin. We're gonna repeat that. Dry skin is not the same as dehydrated skin. Dry skin means that your skin is missing some of the natural oil production that it needs to have. So you have an imbalance of too little natural oils in your skin. Dehydrated skin means exactly as it sounds, your skin is dehydrated. It is missing water. Now, currently, for example, I am pregnant. I just experienced dehydration a lot more in general. Like, I need to be drinking so much more water for my body to be properly hydrated to the way that it was before. Now, this to me feels like a very temporary state. At the same time, dry skin is something that I've had before pregnancy, and I'm going to be having it after pregnancy. And the reason for that is because dry skin is an actual condition. It's not a temporary state like dehydration is. Dehydration is something you can fix with, one, like just drinking more water, for example, and also two, with the certain types of products that you're using to add back in the water to your skin. But dry skin is something that's going to be like oily skin. It's like either you have it or you just don't have it. When we talk about then dry skin and dehydrated skin, it becomes very important because there's going to be different products that you want to be using depending on whether or not it is you actually have dry skin versus dehydrated skin. So let's first talk about dry skin and what you can use for dry skin. If your skin is dry, that means that it's just a condition. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've ruined your skin barrier. It just kind of means that, you know, that is just what your skin does. And so what I have personally found super, super helpful is 2 ingredients. Number 1 is ceramides and number 2 is rice. So talking about ceramides, why are ceramides important for dry skin? Ceramides are actually a part of like the natural fats that make up your skin barrier. So in your skin barrier, it's made up of fatty acids, of lipids, and ceramides is one of those naturally occurring things in your skin barrier. And so when you have dry skin, actually what happens is that there's these little gaps in your skin barrier and you don't have enough of these oils and these fatty acids to go around. And so your skin just almost kind of like shrivels up a little bit more because it doesn't have enough to go around. And so when you add in something like ceramides that's already in your skin, but it just doesn't have enough of, it's going to be boosting and replenishing those oils in your skin barrier to help you be able to combat that dry skin. For example, something like this is going to be a game changer for dry skin because it's going to help just plug in all those little gaps. And so something like this you want to use if you have dry skin. Also, if you have ruined your skin barrier and you need something to kind of like boost up your skin barrier again, ceramides are going to be what you want to look for. Your skin barrier prevents water loss. Your skin barrier is not naturally water-based. Your skin barrier is going to be more oils, fatty acids, lipids, those kinds of things. 2 entirely different concepts. And so when you're fixing your skin barrier to prevent water loss, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to add back in more water into your skin unless your skin is dehydrated. What does your skin being dehydrated actually mean? That means that too much water from underneath your skin is escaping. Now, for me, I don't struggle with this as much normally. And so the only reason why I struggle with it more now is because I'm currently pregnant, and being pregnant, I just feel like I'm dehydrated and my skin has gone dehydrated. So all of the normal products that I always use for my dry skin, I just have to maybe use a little bit more of. I have to maybe be a little bit more conscious of my water intake. And so that's why you can have oily skin and also dehydrated skin, because these are concepts where people are like, can I still have dehydrated skin? Can I still have like a bad skin barrier if I have like oily skin? And the answer is yes, because the oil oil and the water are two entirely different concepts. So you can have oily skin where your skin is producing just too much oil, too much sebum, but you're losing out on all of the water, maybe because of your skin barrier, maybe it's just because you've been overly exfoliating. If your skin is always feeling like super tight and dry and like flaky, that's going to be signs that you may have dehydrated skin, even if your skin type is normally very oily. For dehydrated skin, you want to be looking for a lot more humectants like hyaluronic acids and glycerin and urea. Those are going to be ingredients that help you with adding back the water into your skin. And so if you are dry, you want to look for something that is going to be thicker and adding in the oils and boosting your skin barrier. If you're dehydrated, on the other hand, and you want to solely fix the dehydration, maybe because there's nothing wrong with your skin barrier, then you want to look for the hyaluronic acid serums. You want to look for the glycerin. And that is why sometimes dry skin, they're like, I use this like hyaluronic acid serum. It's like doing nothing for me. And that's because you're trying to add back in more water when that's not what your skin needs. If you have dehydrated skin, that is exactly what you should be looking for. And all of this leads me to mistake number 4, which is that you're probably prepping your skin with the wrong ingredients. Depending on if you have dry versus oily skin, if your skin is hydrated or dehydrated. And I just feel like when I understood the concept of dry versus dehydrated skin, and then I looked at the products I was using, I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder that's why I love XYZ product. No wonder that's why I do not like this product. And everything just made so much sense. I was starting to kind of explore, different brands, different products, different ingredients. And that's kind of where I stumbled on how much I really, really like rice in my toners. And rice in my toners just work so well for me in prepping my skin. And I was thinking why do I like it so much? And it's because I have dry skin. And so for me, dry skin, I need to prep my skin with something like rice, which is more of an emollient. It's going to help boost my skin barrier. It's going to kind of add back those natural fatty acids, the oils back into my skin. And that is what helps me prep my skin for everything else to come. I don't actually need a toner that's going to be more hyaluronic acid based, because that's not actually what's happening with my skin. My skin is not missing out on the water. So vice versa, if you have oily skin and you're like, okay, I need to prep my skin, maybe something like rice is not gonna work for you. Maybe it's just like your skin may not have a bad reaction to it, but maybe it just does nothing for your skin. And so you need to look for something that's more of a glycerin toner, a hyaluronic acid toner. And so prepping your skin with that first step, you need to start prepping it with whatever it is that your skin actually needs to be able to balance it out. If you have too much oil production, and you are also dehydrated, you need to make sure that you're starting to prep your skin with something that's going to add back in the hydration. And then you can kind of add in all these other products now that your skin is all hydrated, to be able to combat maybe some of that excess oil production. And that's what prepping your skin means. You're getting it ready for the rest of your skincare. And what is your skincare doing? Your skincare is balancing out your skin to get you to the ideal state where it's really hydrated and it has sufficient water content, and you're also balancing out the amount of oils that your skin is producing. So it's not too much, not too little, and you're also having sufficient collagen production in your skin for that beautiful anti-aging look that we're all going for. And that is the purpose of skincare. And so when you think about prepping your skin, think about in terms of what your skin actually needs. Don't just pick a toner. Don't just pick a toner because everyone else says they love it. Don't pick a toner even for how it feels. Pick a toner based on what it is that your skin actually needs. If your skin just needs, for example, you're more focused on anti-aging, maybe because you have very normal skin, you don't struggle with too much or too little of something, that's where, you can go in and you can look at some of those amazing anti-aging essences that they have out there to kind of help prep your skin. Those are going to be an option as well. Maybe you're like me, you love using 3 different toners to kind of start off your skincare routine. You can use a little bit of everything. And so prep your skin properly with what it actually needs. Prep your skin properly with what your skin type actually is. And keep in mind, dry skin is not the same as dehydrated skin, and you can be oily and also dehydrated at the same time. Mistake number 5, you may be accidentally drying out your skin with your moisturizer. Now stay with me. I love my moisturizers, first of all. Everyone needs a moisturizer. But why do we need a moisturizer? I've like seen this comment come up before on Reddit where someone was like, I genuinely want to know, like, if I'm adding in all of these different ingredients and products into my skincare routine, like, do I actually need a moisturizer at the end? And like, what is it used for? And that's such a fair question, because you're like, I already put on all this stuff. Like, my skin feels hydrated. My skin feels great. Why do I need to go on with a moisturizer? Why is it that it's such a popular trend in Asian skincare to be able to kind of like slug your skin, like put all of this like thick layer of whatever on your skin at the end of the night? Why is that even a thing? Well, going back to what we talked about with humectants, emollients, and occlusives, humectants absolutely needs occlusives. Otherwise, it's going to dry out your skin. For example, a lot of people have had the experience where they say, oh my gosh, hyaluronic acid is actually drying out my skin. Like, I removed it and it did wonders for me. The reason for that is because hyaluronic acids and glycerin and other humectants are actually doing something where they pull the water from the deepest layer of your skin up to the surface where it needs a lot more of the water. Now, the problem is that if you have a weaker skin barrier, or if you're using a lot of humectants like that, you're going to naturally then start to lose all of that water loss. You're going to lose all of the water that the humectants is pulling up from the deepest layers of your skin, and that is going to dry you out more. And that is why you always need a humectant paired with a very strong occlusive. So if you're going in with a hyaluronic acid serum, you need to make sure that at the end of all of that, you're actually sealing in your skin with some kind of an occlusive that is going to make sure that all of that water loss that you just pulled up to the surface to help you not be dehydrated anymore is going to actually stay in your skin and not just escape into the surface. And when I say your moisturizer may then be drying you out, it's because not every single moisturizer is going to have sufficient occlusives depending on how much hyaluronic acid and other humectants that you might be using in your skincare. For example, if you have really oily skin and you just don't really need to have all of those occlusives, you're also not really using any particular kind of glycerin hyaluronic acid serums, you may be okay with a really lightweight moisturizer. This is one that I have that I've just been using. This is by Naturi. This is the Hatamuji Skin Conditioning Gel. I've talked about this before, but something like this where the texture of this is just so lightweight is really good for oily skin. However, if you're only using something like this, it may not have enough occlusives for you if you're also going in with a lot of very powerful hyaluronic acid serums. It kind of just depends on your skin type, what the rest of your skincare routine looks like. You may actually need to go in with a thicker moisturizer to actually make sure that you're locking everything in. And so maybe if you have oily skin and you still want to be able to use some kind of a humectant based serum into your skin, maybe you do that at night actually, and you pair that with a thicker moisturizer. It's going to be more of a nighttime balm where it's going to be heavier. You're going to be able to lock everything in, but it's okay because it's for nighttime. So you're not going around, walking around all day with like this like thick heaviness on your skin. And so it's really important to think about having enough occlusives based off of what it is that your skincare routine looks like. For me, I love to actually have a lot of different types and layers of occlusives because I like to put my skincare on in layers, and I like to be able to do that because I have a lot of different serums and steps going on in my routine that I feel like being able to, for example, go in first with something like this, and then maybe I will go in with a thicker type of a moisturizer like this one from Dehydrated, or if I don't feel like going in with another moisturizer like a thick balm, I might go in with like another emulsion or something of the sort to be able to kind of like add back a lot of the layers of the occlusives onto my skin. And so that's something important to think about with your moisturizer. It's not necessarily just like a one and done. If you have a very simple skincare routine where maybe you just do like toner, one serum, a moisturizer, and like that's it, then it becomes a little bit easier to be able to pick it out. But you really have to keep in mind the types of products that you're using in one step has to work with the other. And so if you use a serum that's going to be very heavily hyaluronic acid or glycerin based, you need to make sure your moisturizer is going to be able to seal those in. Maybe what you're using for your serum instead is going to be something more brightening. Maybe it's something more towards anti-aging. Then maybe you don't actually need to have all of those heavy occlusives. You can go with something light like this, and that is going to be more than sufficient. So in the end of the day, skincare is a science and it all works together, and you need to make sure that each of the different steps in your skincare routine are working in conjunction and harmony with each other. That is it for this video. Those are my 5 skincare mistakes / tips / tricks / some education that hopefully was helpful to you. I feel like all of these things are honestly things that I've also learned more recently myself, and a lot of this just comes with a lot of different education, trial and error, and figuring things out. And so you're not alone if you looked at this and you're like, wow, that was so overwhelming, that was a lot. Like, don't worry, like skincare becomes a lot. And so the bottom line is that your skincare is meant to balance out your skin, to make sure you're sufficiently hydrated, there's not too much or too little oil production, and you are also getting all of like the collagen and skin smoothing effects that you want it to. You want to have a balanced skin. That in the end is essentially what glass skin means in Asian skincare. Glass skin just means that you have a really balanced skin where everything looks smoothed out, everything looks glowy, everything looks plump and hydrated. It's because that is a balanced skin. Your skincare routine should be balancing out your skin, and your skincare routine should be working in conjunction with each other. It's not standalone with like one step to another. That is it for this video. My name is Claire. Here on my channel, we talk all about Asian skincare, and I also try to share as many tips and tricks and things that I learn about skincare myself with you guys. And so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos as often as I can. I'm trying to do them more often, but currently I am trying to get back onto a weekly schedule. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.